From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the news at 10, live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Amarachi Ubali.
Good evening and welcome. Tonight, tragedy in Anambra community, 25 persons die following a stampede at a church crusade. The federal government pledges to protect electricity consumers against exploitation by new players in the power sector. Ahead of the November 16 governorship election in Anambra State, police say adequate security arrangements is in place. And Pakistan says the death of Taliban leader Hakimullah Masood has destroyed the country's peace process.
On business news tonight, the Central Bank of Nigeria puts in place the necessary mechanism to protect the economy from external shocks in the event of sudden capital outflow.
And in sports news, Nigeria's Golden Eaglets outclassed Uruguay to reach the semi-finals of the ongoing FIFA Under-17 World Cup.
We begin tonight with tragic news. 25 persons confirmed dead and dozens injured following a stampede during a crusade in Uke, Idemili North local government area of Anambra State, southeast Nigeria. The tragedy occurred early this morning at the Holy Ghost Adoration Ministry, where over 100,000 people had gathered for a vigil. The state governor, Peter Obi, who also attended the event but left before the incident, went back to the scene to see things for himself and promised to unravel the cause of the stampede. He also visited the hospital where those injured were taken to for treatment.
Large worship ground and the number of seats inside speaks volume about the multitude that turned out for this night vigil organized by the Holy Ghost Adoration Ministry, Uke, in Idemili North local government area of Anambra State. This edition of the vigil was a special one, as November 1 of every year was set aside by the ministry to mark the All Saints' Day. This man, Osmond Okoli, who survived the stampede, gave an account of what happened.
Yeah, overcrowd. Hold up, yeah, everywhere the two comparted. So, upon our own, so that is nana. Ndị mmadụ na-agwazi anyị ndị na-apụta n'azụ maka anyị erute ego n'iru so ndị ọzọ onwe ndị ọzọ daa na wee ji anyị sa anyị gbaa breki n'onwe ndị dara na ka anyị ghara ịzọ na ha ọkpa n'isi ka anyị ghara na ha ọkpa n'isi anyị nwa wee jize so but ndị nọ n'azụ amara ife na-eme ha nwa na-apụtakwa ozugbo nje ha na-apụtakwa ha wee The
Anambra State Governor Peter Obi was at the crusade in company of the ABGA governorship candidate Willie Obioma, as well as the party chairman Victor Ume, but had left the scene of the incident when it happened. He later visited the place for an on-the-spot assessment.
When I wanted to speak, a group of people started chanting somebody's name and throwing party banners and everything. I had to curtail them and said, we're here to worship. Nobody saw the fire incident. Nobody saw the vehicles that were sent upon them. I've always said that the people should try to live a decent life, do things that are proper. We will ensure that we will do whatever is possible to end this.
This incident didn't happen here. Initially, I thought it was maybe in a cathedral where there is limited access for people to exit if there's an emergency. But you can see from here that if an emergency is here, people will just melt away. There's no restraints here, no fences, nothing.
From Crusade ground, the casualties were moved to Crown Hospital or St. Charles Borromeo, as well as Immaculate Heart Hospital for treatment. At these hospitals, families of victims wait for information about their loved ones. And when news filtered out that some could not make it, tears flowed. Governor Peter Obi also visited the victims of the hospitals and directed that all the names of those affected be compiled for immediate intervention.
Our thoughts and prayers are with the families of those who lost lives in that tragedy. Now, Nigerians have nothing to worry about regarding the successful transfer of power generation and distribution to private hands. This assurance is coming from the Minister of Power, Professor Chinedu Nebo, who explained that the move will give room for a more efficient regime and eliminate corruption from Nigeria's energy sector. He pointed out that the government has an existing mechanism to regulate the activities of the new companies to ensure that Nigerians get value for money. The minister was speaking on our weekend breakfast show, Sunrise.
Government will prevent the organized private sector from ripping off Nigerians.
How?
By making sure that the regulating body only allows tariffs that will be comfortable, affordable, and realistic.
Do you have a roadmap?
We have a roadmap. Actually, President Jonathan launched the roadmap in August 2010. And the roadmap has a destination. The destination is uninterrupted power supply to all Nigerians.
What's the timeline for that?
Well, timeline is something you cannot properly define. The reason,
a projected timeline
okay. Well, for most of those, for instance, yes. Now we have thousands of communities that are not even connected to the grid. If you brought all the angels from heaven, they are not going to be able to physically lay the transmission lines to them. But for those who are already connected to the grid, we are hoping that by the grace of God, within the next year and a half, most of them will have very close to uninterrupted power supply. I'm not sounding it as a threat, but those who deal on generators should start looking for another business. The president is dead serious about giving Nigerians uninterrupted power supply. We don't need to ban generator importation. They will go out of business naturally.
Yes.
Very naturally. They will be run out of business, and it's not going to be long. You know, see what happened in Oka recently and happening in a few spots here and there, because we wanted to complete a substation and we put a mobile one to do this thing for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, no blinking of the power, and everybody was rejoicing. And some generator people were even telling their pastors to pray for them, that they were not making any money anymore, so they can't pay their tithes. They will go out of business naturally.
Minister of Power, Professor Chinedu Nebo. Our former Minister of Power, Professor Bartha Naji, has challenged political leaders to provide discipline and leadership to ensure sustainable socio-economic development. While identifying corruption and policy somersaults as some of the setbacks to development, Professor Naji suggested sustained, stable political climate, secure environment, and the rule of law as ways towards a situation out of the situation, beg your pardon. He said this during a lecture at the Bells University of Technology in Ota, Ogun State.
The political system can just go into a crisis, and we're seeing a bit of that, and it is lack of discipline on the part of the players that lead to this. So if the people who are playing become undisciplined, then you have unstable political system. An unstable political system cannot engender economic growth. Go out there and be a shining example of what Nigeria and Africa can give to the world. Become part of a movement that will drop Nigeria from the list of the most corrupt nations in the world. Be a game changer. Change your world.
To politics now. The much anticipated Anambra governorship election is just 2 weeks away, and the state police command has warned that it would not condone any act capable of truncating the successful conduct of the poll. During an interactive session with leaders of political parties and their candidates in Awka, the state capital, Deputy Inspector General of Police Emmanuel Odoji also said officers who engage in any form of corrupt activity during the election would be punished.
We are going to dominate this environment called Anambra State to the extent that nobody, no sane person would have the liver to try to foment any trouble. It behooves all of you here who are contestants to make sure that these citizens who have the right to elect you exercise that very right without let or hindrance. And this can only be achieved if you talk to your followers to play by the rules. No policeman will be induced if you can prove that, I will dismiss that officer instantaneously because I'm here on ground.
Meanwhile, as part of its strategy to garner more support from the grassroots, the Chris Ngige campaign organization embarked on a tour of Umoji in Idemili North local government area of Anambra State. At a meeting with the Christian community and indigents of the town, the APC governorship candidate said his mission is to restore dignity to the people.
Hundreds of Catholic faithful cheered the campaign train as it made its way into the auditorium of the Holy Family Catholic Parish, Umoji. The APC governorship candidate, Dr. Chris Ngige, met church leaders and parishioners to formally inform them of his ambition. They listened with rapt attention as Dr. Ngige listed his past achievements and his manifesto for the future.
We need to make sure that no child in Anambra is out of school because of no school fees, especially of secondary school. We must do it. It's the only way to check this male dropout syndrome in school.
Special prayers were then offered for his success at the polls.
He's a man that delivered in the first instance, and he has the fear of God. Therefore, we believe God that God will do it again.
After the meeting, Dr. Ngige addressed a group of indigents who had gathered outside the church hall. The APC candidate has been increasing at every stop. The APC hopes the numbers will work in its favor as the party moves on to woo more grassroots supporters ahead of the November 16th elections.
In part 2 after the break, we revisit the issue of vesical vagina fistula, the plight of young women in the country due to the condition. That's in a moment. Please stay with us.